So normally you start with a pottery bowl when you're a new player. Let's say that you died, but you still somehow have a shovel and you have all access to what you need. In the clip I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you how to make a pottery bowl as well as a few other items such as a roasting pan and a pie dish. In this example, I am just using the clay that I get at the lowest QL, which a normal starting player might be faced with, which would be 1 QL in this instance. I won't improve anything in this instance because it's a tedious task, and that isn't in of itself a whole other video. Now, what we're going to do is discuss this specific creation of bowls. Once I create the bowl, as you can see, I'm just clicking and starting up the process, and it will queue it up, and you will get to see how to make a pottery bowl. And so if when you get to this point, this will be one of your first things that you get to work with. There are other items and other starting items that you can come with, but for everybody, normally you just get the pottery bowl to start. Oh man, you've just completed your first pottery bowl, or you have access to your first pottery bowl. What do I do next? Well, the answer is pretty simple. You forage. Now, foraging is a pretty simple task in of that you go to a grass tile and you find that, and you can search in a 3 by 3 grid. You stand in the center and you search the three in front of you, three on the side of you, the three behind you, the three to the left of you, and the center. You'll notice from the thing that I'm doing on the screen that I'm clicking each square. When you click or highlight a square, it will activate what you see above where you see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 in this specific instance. 3 and 4 are foraged and botanized. You can just hit 3 and 4 on your numerical pad or on the keys on the top, and it will automatically queue up botanizing and foraging for you. When you start, you have 3 queues, so you'll be able to queue up 3 different instances. So you can do 1 tile where you forage and botanize, or you can do 3 tiles where you forage on each and every one of them. That's a 3 by 3 grid or a 9 tile search. In the instance I'm showing you, I'm searching all through and I'm finding different foods. As you can see, you get different stuff from foraging. Now, if you don't have a mouse or you're using like accessibility things, you can also go to any tile, right click on it, go to nature, and then there's forage and botanize. The higher you go in skill, the more this changes and gives you more options. There are 3 main cookers that are in the game. There is the campfire, which is the one that everyone has access to when they start. There is the oven, and then there's the forge. Those are the main cookers. Those are going to be the 3 that you use. Okay, so now I have a campfire. This is something everyone has access to. This will take a very long time to heat up because this is a 1.37759 blah 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 QL thing. So it has a low quality. It will take forever to heat up. So I just made that to show you what you can do. You can cook stuff in here. You can smelt ore inside campfires. You can do a lot of stuff. Some meals actually require campfires only. There's the oven, which is this, and there is the forge. Now the oven will cook only specific items. There's like you can't cook breakfasts inside a forge, but you can cook all the things inside the forge. Now, the forge actually increases the difficulty of the meal. You use this to skill up better and better as you go. This is to create specific meals, like you just want to get them done and make it easy. And if you're getting close to your skill level, you use an oven. If you want points and skill up and skill points and get high up there, I would suggest you use a forge as much as you can. Now, in those forges, those are the 3 containers, right? That you can have. It's the oven, the forge, and the campfire. Those 3 are going to be your 3 bases to start. The higher the quality of your oven and forge and campfire, the longer it will burn. Now, in this instance specifically, currently I have a 50.15 QL stove. And normally I would just use a kindling to light it and be done with it, and it will last long enough to cook my meals for me, and because I have higher quality items to use. But let's go ahead and hatch it. Let's go ahead and make a kindling, because that kindling's not enough. It has to be, I think, 1.5 or something in the nature to make the kindling. So I've now made my kindling. I'm combining the two, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit. I'm gonna go ahead and use my steel and flint again. Activate it. In this case, you have the ability to press F to light it, or you can right click and light it. You stand there, and you light up your items. Now, you have different choices and options. So in the oven, you want to fuel it. You can put the item inside of it, and it'll eventually heat up and damage itself out and give the fuel to the thing that you're cooking. Or you can do as I do, you activate it like that, right click, and you choose burn. That instantly fuels your oven or cooking device for a long time. And you'll get this notice at the bottom when you're looking at it. This fire will burn for a long time. Now I put in the maximum amount you can put in, so it will burn for, in this case, because I put in a lot of fuel and I have a higher quality, I think it's about 2 hours, 1 to 2 hours, somewhere in there, that this will burn. The next thing you want to think about is containers. Let's say you went out and foraged and you got all this stuff and you need somewhere to keep your things. Now, you can create this right here. It's a FSB, or a food storage bin. Now, food storage bins, as long as you're on deed and you are not taking, if you have more than 30 days left inside your deed upkeep, this won't be affected. You can store lots of food and you won't have to worry about it. The way you know that you're filling this food up and it's reaching its capacity is the door will visibly open and it'll be a new image showing you that it's almost full. Now, this is where you would store, this is again advanced storage. This you store for your normal foods. Anything you can put in there that isn't considered a processed food can go in there. In here, this is where all your processed food goes. Your veg, your da da da, your breakfast, whatever it is you want to store. Um, and you need snowballs in here to save the food. The higher QL this is, the longer the snowballs inside of it last. So if you can buy it or you can make it, larders are very hard to make when you're starting out. Very hard. Now, as you can see, my bowl is heating up and it's doing it pretty well. And as you can see, my kindling is doing the burning that I was telling you it was going to do. It will damage out at 100, and when it does, it would add its fuel amount to the oven. As you can see, my clay bowl is now searing hot. This process, the lower the QL, the longer it takes to get to the heating condition to make a pottery bowl. The next thing we're going to talk about are the containers. There are many containers in this game. There's the pottery bowl, the frying pans, the saucepans, the cauldrons, the baking stones, the pie dish, and the open helmet. We're just going to be dealing with the two basic ones that you're going to need to work with to get yourself some good foods. Now, you only have access to this pottery bowl. And this is what we got right here. This is the usable stuff we got for food. Now, what can I do with this? Now, there's several things you can do with it. If you are starving and you just want food, you can put a single, I think it's a single, check it. Put one of these in there. Now, this is, I'll explain what I'm doing later in the game, or later down. So, you can put a single item inside here, and it will absolutely 100% tell you what you're going to be able to cook. Now, initially, when you start, you won't see that it will cook you a breakfast. It'll just say the difficulty. Now, this is going to be the different things you see. I currently, myself, don't have a roasting dish, don't have a clay pie dish because I don't use those that often. Um, I experiment with cooking, so that'll be later down the road, and I'm gonna get an open helm later down the road. But for right now, I don't need those. Those are not like huge on my list. Um, a frying pan will allow you to make a meal, and a pottery bowl will allow you to make a breakfast. Each tier of food will give you a different length in affinity timers as well as the CCFPs. Now, CCFPs I'm going to describe in a minute. We'll talk about that in a different section. But for right now, just know it's these little bars right here. They call them CCFPs because it's calories, carbs, fats, protein, and it's the beginning letter of each one, CCFP, and it makes it really easy to understand. Right, processing is very important. As you can see, these items are what you're going to use to normally process things. I'm going to put this butcher knife up. I don't need it for now, and I didn't get a potato, so it doesn't matter to me here. All right, so what you do is you activate the item, which is a knife in this instance, and you go ahead and you right-click on your fresh oregano. Now, see how I can make chopped oregano? You can chest everything and just see what happens when you right click. If it doesn't say create, you can't use it. So right click, nothing, nothing. So then we go back to the knife, and this is what we're going to use to process it. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one. Now I have an egg, I have this chopped pumpkin, I have basil, and I'm ready to go. Now, I'm going to take the grindstone, which I have right here, which you use on these. You can just stick the oats in there with no problem. That's it. But I want flour because I want to put bread inside my food. Now bread adds, I believe it adds carbs, but they add different things. Now I now have my oat flour. With oat flour you can just stick it in there, right? But again, I said I wanted dough, so you take water and you go and make dough. Now dough, this is how you would start to make pizza, just so you know. Now, you are required to have a marble baking stone. You can't make it on anything else. That is it. That is all. This is just a little bit to show you how in depth the the processing can get. So I just made dough. As you saw, I took the grindstone, turned the grain into flour, flour into a dough. Then I took the dough and I put it onto a baking sheet or baking stone will give me bread just by leaving it. You can right click, lower, and it tells you exactly what you're gonna get. I'm gonna get oat dough. That's it. So as this cooks, because I got a pretty decent baking stone, you can buy the marble baking stones. Once you get pretty set up, you can buy silver from the store. You can get it from other players, and if you're on a server that has a kingdom that is funded, you can forage for it. Now, you're asking yourself, well, I don't want to do all that. I just need to be able to make the whatever, and I just want to be able to see what happens. So what you can do is you take those four items. So see those four items. Let's see what I get. This is what happens when you put in things that won't work together. So if I were to take out the egg, what do we get? It suddenly works again. Put that there. Now, this, as you can see, every item I add increases the difficulty. Um, Generally speaking, that's not a bad thing. You get more skill and so forth. So I'm just gonna chop this up. Go ahead and chop this up. I'm curious, what other things can I do with garlic? Never tried it. So fork, mashed garlic, spoon, nothing. So there's another item there's another thing you can do. Now I haven't done this myself with this one, but you can wrap the items. And when you wrap the items, it's another form of processing. So if I do this, I will get something. Now you're looking at this and you're thinking, oh, okay, this makes sense. I just got my bread. We'll go ahead and put that down. My knife. Again, I'm just showing you how complex something like this can get. So I have just now made slices of bread. Now, you might think, oh, well, that's pretty cool, that's done. That's actually not the last step that's possible for this item. So again, remember what I was talking about the mortar and pestle? You can go in here, you double click the mortar pestle and activate it, you right click, and now you can do breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs are kind of like the final step of processing that you can do. You need it for things like sausages and different types of meals that you can put breadcrumbs in. I'm not going to be specific about it. The half the fun is finding the stuff for yourself. As I'm sitting here and as I'm waiting, now as you notice, I left my items inside the oven. Now you might ask yourself, well, why would you do that? And the answer is actually pretty simplistic. All I want to do is I want to make sure that it's heated so that when I put it in there, it's like a preheating the oven thing. You're just preheating your vegetables. So now I have a slice of bread. That's also another option. I'm hoping this goes quicker than not. So now I have this. Now let's stick it in there and see what we get. Do we get a breakfast? It tells you to try any herb. Now, the reason why it tells you to try any herb is actually pretty interesting. It's changed what's available to you. If you click it, it says no known whatever is available. Take it out, right click it, no known. So what do I do next? Do I leave the slice of bread in, or do I take out the this? And I'm just gonna take this all out and put it out here just to be safe. So if you know, the it increased the difficulty. Now let's go ahead and take this out and this out as well. Now what I want to do is I'm gonna stick this in here and see what happens. And as you can see, when I lower it, this is all part of the processing. It says, "Have you tried any herbs?" Now, I have other herbs that are available, so let's go ahead and take a knife and chop up some parsley, just to follow along to the next thing that is available. So we go ahead and stick the parsley in there. Like, okay, we're down. Here's the parsley. What do you want now? It says, okay, I'm gonna make an herb casserole. Oh, that's all you need to make an herb casserole. An herb casserole is a higher um, nutritional value for for you instead of a breakfast. A breakfast has a lower tier nutritional value. Nutrition is very important because nutrition gives you a bonus up to 4.5% skill gain. So you get more and more with higher nutrition. Um, and that's the importance of lore. Lore is important for that reason, and it gets you to the next step to learn something new. Again, you wouldn't see herb casserole. I already discovered it, so I see it. You would see this might make something good. 16 difficulty. Now, what we're going to talk about next is difficulty versus your skill. Difficulty versus your skill is an important thing to understand. As a low skill player, you're going to want to build up your skill as quickly as possible um, to provide better and better meals for you. Difficulty versus skill is an important thing, but not as much when you're starting out. It's important to cook things that are about 10 difficulty above your skill level and 5 below. You never want to do more or less, but when you're starting out, you're at 1, so any difficulty is fine. You can put one herb inside of a bowl, a pottery bowl, and it will make what you need. So right now, I'm gonna leave this in here. This is cooking. Now let's go ahead and stick all of this that we had before to this back into a pottery bowl. We're just gonna use it too. You lure it, click lure, and it tells you, oh, in there. All right, lure says it doesn't know the recipe. If you take out the garlic, it does. Now, if you take out everything else, now you see all this chopped stuff, and you're like, okay, cool, cool, cool. You think that that's done. Now, you have frying pans, so what you can do is actually process it again. And this is important to processing that we get into that I didn't cover previously. So see how I got steamed garlic? It just took a long time to get it. Steamed garlic. Now let's see if I can do anything else with the spoons that I have or the other stuff. So knife doesn't do anything. Spoon won't do anything. And I can't process this anymore. Once I steamed it, it's done. Alright, so now we have these different things in here. I'm going to keep adding stuff because I'm just shoving everything in here. For you, you want to make as many breakfasts as you can. You want to put as much as you possibly can into it um, to be able to work with it. Now, fresh adds a different thing to itself than most everything else. You can do other things than chop. I just do chop because I'm just trying to get it done and over with for you to show you the difference. So ginger, what you need is the mortar and pestle to make it viable to be used. It's a spice of sorts. So you take the mortar and pestle and just grind it out, and you make yourself ginger. Again, this is made out of marble. It can only be made from marble. You can buy them for fairly cheap. I don't have any marble available, so these are the ones that I got. I've had them since I started, so it's not really affected any of my game. So we're just going to toss it in there to get hot. Now, as you can see, this turned into an herb casserole. Now, I have a higher skill, so yours is probably going to be 1. So mine has a good... I always examine them, because there are tiers. So there's the QL of the item. QL can kind of indicate what nutritional value it has. Now, there's a difference between, for instance, this and anything else. So I have a herb casserole. This is 0.45. It's not going to last me that long, but it will fill my gut. Now, as you can see, I have fried pumpkin. Let's see if I can. Or nope. Let me try fry this. Take these. So you can't fry, as you just saw. You can't fry things like herbs. So again, this is gonna make fried herbs or fried veg, and then this is obviously not an ability to add stuff. So right now, this is all the stuff I have. I'm just processing as much as I possibly can. And I want to make myself a big meal. Now, a big meal is super important to fill yourself up. If you're like super down the line of you're at 20% food and you're getting real low and you need to make yourself something good. This is just to fill yourself. This meal right here is probably more along the lines of what you're gonna make yourself if you're not very hungry. Like for instance, it says good. Now the reason it says good is because after a certain QL, about 20, will be as you saw previously. This will show you. This shows you that it has good nutrition. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you something very important for food that most people don't consider or don't know about. Now, I take all of this, and what I do is I put it into the pottery bowl. Now, you're like, that's a lot of stuff. It won't work. And you're right. It doesn't know what it's doing. So what I do is I take out stuff like raspberry, and I see, and I just check, and I take out one thing at a time. It says it doesn't know what's going on. So let's say I take out fennel, another thing. Then we go ahead and lower it. It says it doesn't know what's going on. So then you take out garlic, and then you just go ahead and say lower. Doesn't know what's going on. Then you take out breadcrumbs, and you lower it, and you just keep checking. Okay, that gives you 55 difficulty. Now you put in the garlic again, you lower 60 difficulty. So it wasn't these that were creating the issue. So lower that 70 difficulty. As you can see, that is a 70 difficulty breakfast. That's a lot for anything. I should have kind of waited more, but again, you go ahead and you right click on it, check it. It says this has a good nutritional value. Now, this is more complex than this was. So when I eat this one, it gives me this affinity, and as I eat, the affinity would go up normally. But it also fills my CCFPs and my food. Now I had 99% nutrition, but this is a breakfast and it has a cap of I think 72% or 70% nutrition. So it's a different kind of beast. So I'm gonna go ahead and I put this here. Now if you make yourself food and you really want to save that food, don't have it in your inventory. Having it in your inventory is by far the worst thing you could possibly do because um, it will rot. So you can store it in large barrels, you can store it in chests, you can store it in small barrels, you can store it in anything you would normally store. Now, larders are going to be your best bet because larders are just, they're dope. They hold food, they last for a long time. Now, as you can see, this is very warm. When we first examined it, it was good. It was good nutrition. But when you examine it when it's not hot, it's medium nutrition. So what you need to do is whenever you make your food, always warm it up till it's hot. Once it's hot, it will change, it'll give it another tier of nutrition and give you more nutrition from the same meal. So it's very, very important that you eat all your meals hot. A lot of people won't know a lot of people don't know this trick for whatever reason. I don't know why that is, but that is a very, very important thing. Now, this is a farm. Now, if you don't know about farms, farms are pretty straightforward. Now, today I have on my farm, I am going to show you a couple quick little things while I'm doing this. But so a farm is just having crops available without having to um, go and forage for them. Now, I always suggest you get at least 20 foraging and botanizing. I'm working on it still. I focused on other things because uh, you can get higher QL items as you forage and botanize. Now, there are different stages in farming, but the general gist I want to show you right now is this is what you do when it's untended. You take a rake, which you have to make of your own. And as you can see, I can see from a distance. You'll have to see, but close up. But you can also visually see a difference. So this is a ripe crop, and this is a halfway crop, and this is an almost ripe crop. If you look, there's visual difference between all of them. You don't see the orbs that you see in the almost ripe, and you don't see that these are red in comparison to these, which are kind of reddish yellow. You right click on ones that are fully ripe and you harvest. Now, I have a couple of bonuses going on because I'm on deed and I have a beehive. So I expect to get a decent amount from this. I got 4 tomatoes, which is not a lot to be completely honest, but I got a high quality tomatoes. Now, what you do is when you want to replant stuff like this, I don't in this particular instance, you go ahead and click pick seed. When you get your seed, you highlight and activate the seed, you right click and you click sow. And that's how you replant stuff. Now, you can plant stuff like potatoes, pumpkins, cabbages, garlic. You can plant a bunch of stuff. And that will be, as you get better and better at farming, it will raise the quality of the items you get so that you don't have to worry about, oh, I went to forage and the maximum I got right now is like 2. And so I can't really do that. So what you do is you just, you keep farming, you keep tending, you keep pulling stuff up as you need. And I'm just going to harvest this one too. And as you go, you'll get different things. So right now I got 4 tomatoes. And you might say, oh, well, that's not that much. What's the big deal? Da 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 da. You get 3 even if you that's another thing. And then I got another 4. Sucky. Uh, that's the thing about it is I still got 4, while when you foraged, you only got 1, or if your skill was high enough, you got 2. So this will allow you to put more stuff into places like the food storage bin, so that you have access to lots and lots of an item. As you saw when in previous sections of this video, my FSB inside my house has a lot more stuff in it. It's where I primarily keep stuff. Now I do something different than most people. Usually I have at least 3 FSBs. One for veg, one for meat of the regular kind, and one for fish and fish meat and fillets like that. I don't usually keep them together. This allows me to know what I have on hand of what particular item, and it makes life a lot easier. Um, Very brief covering of milk. Milking is super not complex. It's literally a couple of seconds. This is all it is. You make yourself a small bucket. I already have one. In your case, press N, then type in small, and bucket comes up. It tells you the skill you need, and the item is right here. And then you click this, it drops down. It tells you the items you need to start to make it. Then it tells you all the additional items you need. So in this case, it would be a total of 5 planks, one nail to make it. So pretty easy to make. It'll take you a while at low skill, but you can make it. Just you double click it, go up to a cow of older age than young. That's it. That's all you do. And you can do the same thing with sheep and bison. And those will give you all different kinds of milk. Now remember, as you do the milking, you will damage your so I have like this see this right here? I highly doubt that this cow will have any milk, but you can check. Alright, so that's done. I just go over to the next cow, and I got lag. So as you can see, no milk. Too young to milk. Go to this girl. She's aged, which means she's about to kick the bucket. Not the small bucket. That's a bad day. Anyways, she's not long for the says. So in this case, I have 6 viable milk cows. I just constantly snag. Now, this is milking. Milking is pretty straightforward and simple. You just get cheese. Now, somebody asked, can you cut cheese into slices? No, you cannot. You can only cut cheese into cheese. Or at least I don't know the way to cut cheese into slices. Now, this is also how you would make cheese. You just walk in here, you find yourself cheese drill, put it in there. Again, N, type in what you want, cheese drill. Tells you it's fine carpentry again, just drop it down. Need a bladder, a shaft, plank, small nails, and sprouts. Now that's going to be a little more difficult for people because a bladder requires you to kill things to get it, or you have to trade somebody, or you just have to buy the cheese. So what I do is I just take the cheese drill, put it over here, take the milk over here, and then in my instance I have 4 actions, so I just hit great. Expand it to the furthest amount of actions, and now I'm making cheese. That's literally it. And this is literally the main use of, or one of the main uses of when with food is making cheese. Now you can actually put milk as a liquid in things to make things. Like you need milk for meatballs, and you need a specific amount of milk to make the meatballs. But that's down the line, and you'll have to figure that one out for yourself. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is drink making and alcohol making. We're just going to continue this really quickly while I'm doing this. Those are different types of things that you don't initially need to worry about. Those require their own videos because they're so complex to do them correctly. Now, yes, they're involved in cooking. Yes, they're a part of cooking, but they're it's like saying that you know making orange juice is the same thing as making a steak. It's a different kind of process you have to go through, and it requires a different set of tools and and a different just different things in general. Alcohol you would use because it can alcohol and drink making you would make because after 10QL you can get affinities from the drinks as well as affinity from the food. And you, as you saw before, you can have more than one affinity at a time. Um, Food affinities are temporary 10% buffs on a specific affinity or item. You can actually, with a couple of websites, you can actually find a person's base affinity and then find how to make affinities for that person specifically. Every food gives a different affinity to a different person. don't get the same affinities all the time. It's just what it is. So I have milk left over. I'm gonna drink it if I can, and it tastes delicious. It makes the utterly joke, and since I don't have any further use of it, I just pour it out. Now I'm just gonna here both of these. You know me, I'm always about the repairing. And I'm gonna go ahead and put these back in my storage that I have for them. I do not currently need them. Right, so that's that. Um, so we covered your starter items, how to forage, your cookers, your containers, your processing, difficulty versus skill. We brushed on farming, a little bit about drink making, milking, alchemy or alcohol, and now we're going to talk about fishing and CCFPs as our final two categories. Fishing is pretty straightforward. You can do several things to make fishing easier for you in your life. I personally just made myself a fishing net because it makes life 1,000 times easier. It helps you if you're trying to grind out cooking, because you can get these bait fish, and these bait fish you can get two separate ticks, as I call them, or two separate skill gains. Those two separate skill gains are pretty straightforward. All you do is you find a tile in water down there, and you right click and you say fish. And you sit there for a minute and a half, and then fish show up in the net. You pull out the fish from the net, and you continue to fish, and that's it. And then, these are CCFPs. I briefly brushed on them earlier, but I'm going to go more into depth about them, and I'm going to show you a page with the CCFPs on them. Orange and green is your hunger or nutritional status. It's directly proportional to your regeneration. The higher the hunger of the player, the slower the regen happens. But it's true, but water is a bigger factor in that than anything else. If you have low water, drink water, your stamina will regen faster. Um, Pink color, which is the first color you see on the far left-hand side, is calories. It reduces stamina drain. Turquoise, or that weird second color, is carbohydrates, and that reduces water usage. The next is fats, which reduces the use of sleep bonus and increases favor regeneration, which is important for priests. The lime is proteins, and it reduces the usage of food when your actions. The gray is sleep bonus, and the purple is favor, which are only applicable to priests, so you don't really have to worry about that. Now, nutrition, as you can see, as I hover above it really quick, my current nutrition is at 96%. Now, at 96%, you might say, okay, well, what's that do for me? Why do I care about it? Um, in this specific instance, nutrition, and you can look this up on the wiki as well, at 99% gives a 4.9% skill bonus, at 85% gives a 3.5 skill bonus, and at 2% gives at 70% gives 2% skill increase. For every increase 10% nutrition over 50, there's a 1% skill increase. So that's the actual how it works. Now, for instance, it says nutritive food. It says raw meat will nourish you about 11%, cooked 17, hearts 30 to 31, fish up to 32. You can sacrifice rare items to get yourself what's known as a refresh, and a refresh gives you 99% nutrition, full food, full water, but it doesn't give you full CCFPs. So it's best, and I suggest, that you raise your CCFPs as high as you possibly can, and then you would do a refresh, which is just you hit C in this case, and it's a meditation thing. You right click and it would be right here, and it would say refresh. Now I've already used mine for the day since I'm at 96%, so I can't do it again. It's every 24 hours, and that's essentially what you come to is how much bonus do I want to get? How much longer do I want things to last? Now, here's another thing that is not official, and I don't know if it's real or not, but from my experiences, it seems that, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, and everybody is, but it seems that when I have full CCFPs, or pretty dang close, I tend to more often than not get rares, supremes, and fantastics. Now, That's comes from what's called a moment of inspiration. I refer to it as an MOI. MOIs give you the chance to make a rare, a supreme, or fantastic when you're doing an action. That can be farming, which gives you more yield, all the way to fantastic sword, which can give you, I think, like 3 or 5% bonus on like your attacks and stuff. It's a lot, um, and they're worth a lot. Now, when it's things like we'll go into rarities and what's worth what and what's worth keeping and what you should sacrifice and so on and so forth in another video. But just for now, know that you can sacrifice rare items that you may not have a use for um, to get yourself a full nutritional bar, which will give you 4.9% gain on your skills. And then there's also, your faith bonus. You also get your deity bonus, which will be whatever it is. You get your affinity bonus from your foods. If you happen to have, in this case, see, I unfortunately have a crappy affinity, but hammers. Um, that is pretty much it. Uh, but if you have a good affinity, that's another 10% right there, and you can use that to help you out later on in life. And I mean life is in Wurm life. Um, the last thing I want to cover is the importance of letting yourself learn. Now, a lot of people will, you can go get out and get guides. You can go out and do everything, and you can get the information you need, but you'll be rushing yourself. And you take away a little bit of the fun and you do it, in my opinion. So when you're starting out, yeah, it's gonna be rough. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Yeah, you're gonna have to do stuff. I still learn by lore. There are available websites like wormfood.com, which will give you um, affinities, so you know what affinity you're gonna get. You base it off a simple meal that you make, then the first part, the setup, and then you make it more complex in the goal you're looking for and the actual production, second part. Now, that will give you a lot of information and the affinities. The other page you can get is a Google Doc page, which I can't really read out to you. It's too long, but it's widely available, and it will tell you all the known recipes from top to bottom. And there's like uh, there are 491 of them on this doc. So if you don't want to do that and you just want to get your stuff done, you can use these resources to bypass everything else. Now, there are ways to grind food, cooking, and I will show you just a brief, very brief setup. It's known as pan filling to a lot of people, but for me, it's just how I up my food. It's just what I do. My HFC is currently 62, I believe. So what I did was I built a lot of forges. And inside each one of these forges is 8 cauldrons. That's the maximum you could put. And inside each one of these cauldrons is 32 frying pans. So each one of these contains 256 containers. In those 256 containers, you can put one basic meat in all of these. And then that will give you fried meat. Then you can take one veg, corn if you want. You can put all of those in there and you can get 2,000 fried veg. Then you take both of them together and then you get a third tick for 2,000 meals. Now, doing this will up your HFC a ridiculous amount, but the amount of effort it requires to actually complete this is very, very long. I believe it's 2.5 kilograms iron per frying pan, 5 or 6 per cauldron. So in this instance right here, let's say I have 10 forges going, which is, I got more than that, but let's say I have 10 forges. 10 forges times 8 cauldrons is, God, 800 cauldrons. My brain is 80 cauldrons. 80 cauldrons times, let's say, 6 is going to be really quick. 8 times 6 is 480. So 480 lumps of iron. So 480 digs of iron just to make the cauldrons. And then there's 256 per, right? So 256 per setup. You multiply that by 10, you're required to make 2,560 pans. Now you multiply that by, let's just call it 3 to make it life easy, because I think it's either 2 or 3. You need 7,680 ore that you have to turn into lumps to make the pans. So you're talking about give or take 8,000 strikes, right? And then that's not improved ones. So the lower the QL, because these will rot pretty quickly. The more they rot, the more damage they take. So now you have to add another 3 to 500 iron lumps to improve them to I say at least 20, or have enough that you can make a mass amount of iron frying pans. And then you have to have one oven with, I have currently 50 pottery bowls in it, and you use that, and you can convert it into a meal, or if you have to, you can convert it into breakfasts. Breakfasts are going to give you lower skill points than meals because meals contain more things, but you can stack multiple things inside of a breakfast to raise the difficulty, to make it easier for you to uh, make what you raise your skill. And so it just all depends on what you want to do. And these are just like tricks of the trade that you learn as you go. There's no right way or wrong way, really, but I suggest that if you really want to enjoy this game, you figure it out for yourself. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoy it, like, you want some more videos on something specific, go ahead and give me the specific topic, and I'll go ahead and cover it. Otherwise, have a great day. Bye.